Welcome to It's All Geek to Me, a podcast where two friends experience popular nerdy franchises for the first time. My name is Leah, and this season my co-host Kelli and I will be traveling to a galaxy far, far away as Kelli experiences Star Wars for the very first time. And I'm the expert. Let's dive in.
Where were we?
Where were we? I don't remember.
Let me remind you.
Oh, yeah. Palpatine said that he's going to put Anakin on the Jedi Council and make him a master.
Yeah, and that they need him more than they even realize, which was very ominous. And we are at the point where Palpatine is very openly evil, and it is confirmed in today's section, thankfully.
Yes, finally confirmed that he actually is the Sith Lord.
So we no longer need to tiptoe around it. Kelli was right from day one.
Seriously. No, all your predictions were pretty on the mark, I have to say.
Now that I've come to know this world, I feel like I'm getting better at predicting. And even I made a joke prediction about multiple arms getting cut off.
Man.
And we've already had like 3 out of 4 cut off in this section.
Yeah, we had a lot of hands get cut off in this section. So that was pretty hilarious.
I love to see it. So let me talk us through what happens next, because Anakin goes to the Jedi Council and they are not pleased with this idea that Palpatine wants him to be on the council. And Yoda actually goes and says that this is a disturbing move that he's made, which I thought was really interesting, that he's being very open about his feelings on the matter.
Yeah.
And then Windu says he'll be on the council, but he's not granted the rank of master, which another GIF reaction. Gotta tell you.
Wow. Look at that.
Very exciting.
So many.
And Anakin gets really mad at that because he thinks that he should be able to be a master. And he says it's outrageous and unfair. And Windu just basically is like, sit down.
And he does listen.
Yeah, I feel like for being as outspoken as he is, when people tell him to do things, I feel like he's always like, yes, master. Sorry, master.
Yeah.
Okay, master.
Even on the dark side, he does the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Very obedient. So then one Jedi that they're kind of FaceTiming with, doing a little comm with, says that they can't find Grievous, and Yoda says that he's hiding in the outer rim in the outlying systems. And we also find out that the droid army is attacking the Wookiees, and Obi-Wan says that they can't afford to lose that system, it's too important. And Yoda says he's going to go there himself to reinforce the Wookiees, and that he has a very good relationship with them, which made me so pleased for no reason.
We love the Wookiees.
I do love the Wookiees. So then they call the meeting, and then Anakin is complaining to Obi-Wan about how he's not a master and he feels like this was an insult to him. And Obi is like, calm down. This is an honor. Honestly, you're the youngest person that's been put on the council. You should be very happy about it. And then Obi-Wan says that he's worried that Anakin is getting a little bit too close to Palpatine, and that the Jedi are concerned about him meddling in their affairs. And he also, I feel like the conversation gets fairly heated pretty quickly because Obi-Wan kind of accuses Anakin of wanting this outcome, like of wanting to be on the council and get more power and stuff. And he's like, your friendship with him is paid off, which I thought was a little spicy.
Yeah.
And then he tells him that there's another mission for him because the council wants him to report on Palpatine's moves. And Anakin gets upset. He thinks that spying on him is treason. And Obi is like, well, we're in a war. And Anakin is like, well, why didn't anybody say anything during the council meeting? And Obi-Wan says this is kind of off the record. It's a secret task for him.
I feel like they're giving Anakin way too much responsibility. I don't know why they thought that like this would go well.
Here's my thought on this. As much as Yoda is being open about it, I feel like everybody else is really tiptoeing around Anakin. And I feel like they should have been open from the beginning. Listen, we're suspicious of him. Something's going on. You should not get this close to him. He's manipulative. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Because I think to him, it just feels like a slight. It's like they put him on the council, but they don't make him a master. They have these suspicions about Palpatine, but they're just sending Obi-Wan to tell Anakin. They don't have like enough respect for him to tell him himself. Like I feel like that's sort of the path that he's spiraling down of like, they don't respect me. They don't trust me.
And to take it even one step further, I feel like thinking from Anakin's perspective, you know, he found this almost fatherly figure in Palpatine, and the closer closer he gets with Palpatine, the more he feels like the Jedi stop trusting him.
Yeah.
And he's just starting to feel this sense of like, well, you have to pick one. And as a person with no father, literally, I feel like he's kind of warring with these emotions of like, I care about this person. I feel like he's been so good to me. The Jedi, maybe they're jealous of me. Maybe, you know, like all the stuff he said in the last movie.
Yeah.
They're jealous of my power. They want to control me, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's what he's thinking. And I think that throughout this, you just see all the wrong moves that the Jedi made in not kind of wrangling him.
Absolutely. Speaking to that, Anakin says that Palpatine isn't a bad guy, and Obi-Wan basically just says something's wrong going on here. Like, he's lasted beyond his term, and Anakin is like, yeah, but that's because he was given that power. And he was like, yeah, but, you know, this emergency can't really be going on forever. This is not a great situation.
Yeah, for him to just have this executive power for as long as he wants it.
Yeah. Which I agree. I mean, any one person having that much power in a democratic situation like this is a problem.
Absolutely.
So then meanwhile, we have Obi-Wan. He's talking to Yoda and Windu, and he says that Anakin isn't happy about having to spy. I don't know where they are. They're like on some ship.
Yeah, I don't know. On a ship.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Maybe it's before Yoda leaves to go to the Wookiees. They're just on his ship.
Okay. And then Windu actually says that he doesn't trust Anakin. And Obi kind of defends him a little bit. And he's like, with all due respect, isn't he the chosen one? And Windu is like, yeah, well, that's what the prophecy says. And Yoda even jumps in and says, well, the prophecy could have been misread, you know.
Also, who's saying that it's Anakin? Like, they just decided that it's Anakin.
Yeah, absolutely. And Obi puts his faith in Anakin. He's like, don't worry, he's not going to let me down. I trust him. Then we cut to Anakin and Padmé, and Anakin is complaining, as usual.
Always.
About the Jedi Council. And Padmé is finally, I feel like it's so interesting to see their outfit and design choices for her in the moments where she's like this in love, nervous young girl kind of thing. She has her free flowing curls and she's always wearing something flowy and light and you can see her shoulders and everything. In this moment, she's kind of putting on her senator hat and she's looking like the Padmé that we knew in the last movie.
Yes, I agree with that.
So I knew in this moment that she was going to have a little bit of a backbone, which she did.
Yeah.
So she's like, what if we're on the wrong side? What if the Republic is actually the evil that we're trying to stop? And Anakin is like, you're starting to sound like a separationist. And Padmé says, you know, you're the one closest to the Chancellor. Why don't you ask him to just stop this fighting so we can get back to like a diplomatic situation? And he gets mad. He jumps up. He's like, don't ask me to do that. And then he's like, just make a motion in the Senate if that's what you want. Like, you got to go through the proper channels. And then Padmé is like, what's wrong, Annie? And he says nothing. And she's like, don't shut me out, Annie. I love you.
She's like, hold me like you did on Naboo.
Back before there was war and politics and we were just in love. And I'm like, that's not what happened back in Naboo. Just saying.
No, that's not what happened. You guys, he was supposed to be watching you and he married you instead.
Yeah. So then we cut to a nice little night out at the theater.
A little show.
A little orchestra, a little show going on. Anakin is running up the stairs. Honestly, could have dressed nicer for this occasion, but I guess he wasn't planning on staying.
No.
And he goes to like the box where Palpatine is with a bunch of other people. And he's like, what did you need me for? And Palpatine is like, I have good news. The clone intelligence units found Grievous and that he is in the Utapau system. And Anakin is like, oh, nice. Now we can catch him and we can end this war. And Palpatine is like, oh, well, if you're not the one chosen to lead this assignment, then I'm going to be a little disappointed and surprised in the council. And then Palpatine sends away everybody else in the box seats, which honestly, so rude. They're in the middle of watching a show.
Yeah.
He just tells them to leave.
And they just do it.
And they do.
He's very powerful.
I would be so annoyed. So then Anakin sits down and he tells Anakin that he can't rely on the Jedi Council anymore. And he says that he suspects that the Jedi want control of the Republic and that they want to betray him. And Annie starts arguing, but Palpatine is like, search your feelings. You know, don't you? And Anakin admits that the Jedi don't trust him.
Yep.
And he says that his trust in them has been shaken. And Palpatine is like, they asked you to do something that made you feel dishonest, didn't they? They asked you to spy on me, didn't they?
And he's just like, I don't know, maybe.
Couldn't say for sure. And then Palpatine says that the Sith and Jedi are similar in almost every way, including their quest for power. And Anakin is like, the Sith only think for themselves. And Palpatine is like, and the Jedi don't. So he's getting his claws into him in this moment.
Yeah, this whole thing is just like planting all the little seeds that Anakin needed to turn.
Absolutely. So Anakin's arguing that the Jedi are selfless, and Palpatine asks if he's ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And he said it's a Sith legend. Plagueis was a Dark Lord, and he could actually influence the midichlorians to create life. So it sounds like this is Anakin's daddy.
I was wondering if you'd pick up on that.
It was only incredibly obvious.
Yeah. I also think it was incredibly obvious that Darth Plagueis was Palpatine's mentor master, and he killed him.
Oh yeah, especially with how pleased he was in the next few lines. He says he could stop people from dying, and then Anakin, of course, has his interest piqued, and he's like, you could save people from death. And Palpatine says that the dark side of the Force is a path to many abilities that some consider to be unnatural. And then Anakin asks what happens to him, and this is when Palpatine gets really excited, and it becomes obvious that Plagueis was his master, because he said he became so powerful that he feared losing his power, which he did, but he ended up teaching his apprentice everything he knows, and then his apprentice, Grin, killed him in his sleep.
So pleased.
And he's like, it's kind of funny. He could save others from death, but not himself. And he's just looking so self-satisfied.
Yeah, he's so happy with himself.
And then Anakin asks if it's something that's possible to learn, and Palpatine is like, not from a Jedi, which we're going to get back to this, because I have a whole huge problem with this, okay? Put a pin in this. We'll talk about it at the end of the section.
Pin has been placed.
Thank you. So then we cut to the planet where the Wookiees are, and we've got some soldiers there, and the Wookiees and Yoda are having a little FaceTime meeting with the Jedi Council, and they're told that Palpatine thinks Grievous is on Utapau. So then Anakin says that Palpatine requested that he be the one to lead the campaign, and Windu is like, the Council decides, not Palpatine. And Yoda says that a master is needed, someone with more experience, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
That is a normal, you need a master to do this. He literally just said someone with more experience.
But Anakin's supposed to be a master already. He's on the Jedi Council, but they didn't make him a master. It's my whiny voice.
No, I know it well.
They're just jealous.
They are just jealous. So they actually recommend Obi-Wan, which put a pin in that one as well, because I'll have a problem with that in a minute. Then the meeting adjourns, and the Wookiees start fighting with the battle droids on their planet. Meanwhile, cutting back to Obi and Anakin is like, you're gonna need me for this. And Obi is like, yeah. And then Anakin stops him and apologizes for how he's been acting, which I found to be shocking.
Yeah, out of character.
And he says he has been arrogant and he's not been a good student, and he's sorry. He's just been really frustrated with the council. And Obi-Wan says he's really proud of Anakin. He taught him everything he knows, and he says Anakin is a better Jedi than Obi could be. Now, before we continue this section, this is my problem. Yoda literally said someone with more experience, a Jedi master, like Obi-Wan. And now, immediately after, Obi is like, you're a better Jedi than me. Not a good thing to say when someone's feeling slighted by the council.
No, absolutely not.
Bad
absolutely not.
idea.
But he also does say to him, you have to be patient. Like, you will be made a master. You're so young.
Yeah, he says it's not going to be long. And then Anakin is like, Obi-Wan, may the Force be with you. And Obi is like, may the Force be with you. And then they part ways. Seems to be amicable. Seems to be good.
That was the last time they saw each other this section.
Was it? I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
So then we have Obi talking to the commander of the clones, and he's telling Obi the plan, and Obi says he's going to keep the bad guys distracted until the army arrives. And then we cut to another dream where Padmé is in labor, and Obi-Wan is there and he's helping, and he says, save your energy, don't give up. And then we see Annie in the living room being upset, and Padmé walks in and he's like, Obi-Wan has been around here, hasn't he? And she's like, yeah, he came by this morning. And he's like, what did he want? And Padmé says that he's worried about Anakin and he just thinks he's under a lot of stress. And Anakin admits that he's feeling pretty lost right now. He thinks that the council doesn't trust him and he feels like he's not the Jedi that he should be. And he knows he shouldn't want more, but he can't help feeling that way. And Padmé is just trying to calm him down. She's just like, oh, you expect too much of yourself. And then Anakin says, I found a way to save you. And she's like, I'm not gonna die in childbirth, I promise you. And he's like, no, I promise you.
Oh my gosh.
He gets really intense. It's a little too much for me.
I know. Also, when he was like asking about Obi-Wan, it sounded like jealousy. Like he's not coming for your girl.
I know. He's just way too possessive. I think that's one of the things that bothers me when he's with Padmé is he just gets way too possessive of her. So then meanwhile, we see Obi. He's getting to the planet where all the baddies are. And he is greeted by who I think is a super cool looking alien guy.
Yeah.
Loved this guy's vibe.
I know. I thought they were cool too.
So the guy's like, oh, what brought you to our remote sanctuary? And Obi says, the war, unfortunately. And the guy's like, oh, there's no war here unless you brought it with you. And then Obi is like, oh, could I get some fuel? And then also, can I use your planet as a base? Because I'm searching for General Grievous. And then the alien guy comes a little closer and he whispers, he's here. We're being held hostage. He's watching us. And then he also says, 10th level, thousands of battle droids. And then Obi is like, okay, tell your people to take shelter. If you have any warriors, now's the time. And then here's where I got so confused. I know the rest of this section happened to confirm what I was a little bit confused about, but I'm still so confused. So maybe you can help me out.
Yes.
Because then Obi gets back onto his jet and he tells R4 to get him back to the ship. And then he flies off, but then he's still on the planet.
So here's my thought with this.
Because I was like, evil hooded guy is watching who looks a lot like him. Wait, that is him.
Yeah, it was Obi. So there have been moments, not that you have seen, but that I have seen, of Jedi astral projecting. That's what I have to imagine happened here because it's very confusing. And where my mind goes is astral projection, meaning if anyone doesn't know what that is, it means that you're projecting your body somewhere where you actually aren't.
So here's my gripe with the Star Wars franchise. If I was watching this movie or this entire franchise so far on my own without someone explaining certain random things to me, I would have no idea. There are some things that you're just like, oh, well, yeah, they don't explain it in the movie, but XYZ. And I'm like, how could I have known that?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of my biggest issues with the Star Wars universe is it does feel like the rules are made up as they go.
And that they can also change without notice.
Yes.
And nobody's going to tell you. You just have to know the lore.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yes.
I remember when we first got into the franchise and I was saying it's kind of daunting because there's so much stuff that you have to learn and know. I still feel like that's so true. You know, having watched so many of the movies at this point, well, not so many, but I've watched at least 5 of them.
You've watched more than half at this point of the 9.
Yeah. So at this point, it's just wild to me that there's still so much stuff that I just have to know the lore of. So that's kind of annoying.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like, you know, one thing I do love about film is getting to debate, like, oh, what does this mean? How does this happen? But I think the trap with Star Wars is you get into these debates of, ooh, I wonder what the meaning is, but it really was just like a mistake or bad writing.
Yeah. Bad writing.
Bad writing all over the place.
So yeah, I found out pretty quickly that that was Obi-Wan and he is going to spy on the Separationists, and we can see that Grievous is telling the Separationists that he is relocating them to Mustafar, and the Separationists do not like this plan. They're actually arguing with him a little bit, and they're like, ever since Count Dooku was killed, you've been an idiot, or something like that, in so many words.
Well, yeah, they don't trust him because now they're taking their orders from a droid.
But we learned something interesting about him, which I won't spoil yet. Grievous sends them off, and then Obi jumps down and is immediately surrounded by droids.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Also, he was like riding in on a big dinosaur, like not very subtle.
I love loved
I
that
do love
lizard.
okay, lizard's probably better than dinosaur, but he's not subtle at all. He is like right in that thing.
And it's screeching.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I feel like I'm very averse to like random loud noises. Hated the sound of that creature. Would love to have one, but I would need to train mine to be quiet.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's why at first I thought that wasn't Obi-Wan, because I was like, oh, some evil guy is coming to report back with this shrieking lizard. But no, it was him being very sneaky.
But no, he runs in with the shrieking lizard. Nobody hears him. And then he just jumps down into the middle of it. And it's like, I'll take on all these guys.
Yeah, so then 4 of them, 4 of the droids, approach him, and they've got what I like to consider as spicy Q-tips. They're
I like it.
very sparky.
Yeah, on both ends.
Yeah, that's what makes them a Q-tip, Leah. And then conveniently, there happens to be this giant weight overhead,
Oh,
and
perfect.
Obi-Wan just uses the Force to let it drop on them. And then one of them kind of gets out, but he just beheads him real quick. And then another one of my least favorite tropes in movies, books, TV shows, anything, is when Grievous is like, every droid back off. I want to take him down myself. Why?
Literally, ego, baby, ego.
I know, but I'm just saying, if I was in a fight and there was a bunch of people on my side who were trying to take down the bad guy, I wouldn't be like, guys, come on, I want to fight him myself. I'd be like, no, we're not fighting fair. Kill him. Quick.
Yeah.
I don't want to get hit.
Because you don't have an ego. You just want efficiency.
That's true.
Grievous has to be the one to do it.
So we get some incredible stuff going on here. Grievous actually says that he has been trained in the Jedi arts by Count Dooku, and he takes off his little robe thing. Turns out he's got 4 arms. Who knew? And guess what? All of them have lightsabers, and none of them are red, I noticed.
Yeah, well, he steals lightsabers, remember?
That is true. We did see him steal a bunch of lightsabers.
Yeah.
Well, he said, I'll add them to my collection. So then he starts waving them around like crazy, terrifying lightsaber helicopters, and Obi-Wan keeps backing up, but then they start fighting. And it's actually a really cool lightsaber battle
cool.
with 4 lightsabers versus 1. I thought was really amazing.
Yeah.
Then we get an arm that gets cut off.
Yes, we did.
Then we get a second arm that gets cut off.
Yes, we do.
I was hoping we would knock out all 4 of them at once, but
I know.
I didn't get so lucky.
Don't worry, there's another one.
But then the clone army comes in and they start attacking. And Grievous is like, army or not, you must realize you're doomed. And I thought that you would probably appreciate this because we get this extreme close-up.
I honestly did not appreciate that extreme close-up. It was
Really?
too close. It
Oh.
was too close.
It was a little
I did
close.
write it down though, because my thing is when I notice a shot, it like sometimes I watch films with a certain perspective in my mind, like, oh, I want to listen to the sound design, or I want to look at, I'm really interested in the cinematography. But when I'm just watching the film and I'm not paying attention to those things and I notice a shot, I have to assume it wasn't a good shot. And I noticed that close-up shot.
It's interesting you say that because I was actually talking to Ryan about that yesterday, about how whenever we notice a shot in a movie or TV show that we're watching, I don't take it the same way as you. I think they're trying to win an award with this shot. Like, you know, when you realize that an episode of a TV show is all filmed in one shot, I'm like, they're trying to win an award. I'm always so suspicious.
I get that. I think sometimes, obviously, like I'm a filmmaker and I appreciate film. So sometimes there's the moment where I'm like, oh, wow, that was really cool. But in this particular one, it pulled me out of it where I'm like, oh, I'm watching a movie.
Well, number one thing we learned in film school, extreme close-ups mean extreme tension.
Ooh,
so
that is true.
We did get a lot of tension in this moment. That's why I thought you would appreciate it. But
it was a little too close for me, though. It like pulled me out. But he does have beautiful eyes.
I thought it was actually interesting seeing the details of Grievous's face.
That's true.
But then we also got a close-up of Obi-Wan's face, and I was like, well, I'm not in love with him like you are.
I was thinking more like Obi, because I liked Obi's eyes.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm glad you like the good guy, at least.
Yeah.
So then I completely digressed, but I had just said, he says, army or not, you realize you're doomed. And then Obi is like, oh, I don't think so. And then he throws him with his Jedi force, and Grievous starts running around like a terrifying metallic spider.
Oh my gosh. I hate it. I hate it. And he gets
I
in like
knew
that
you
big
would.
spinning thing.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was called, so I just wrote giant droid wheel.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool.
Official title.
And then he zooms off. Obi calls his lizard friend, very screechy lizard friend, and he follows him. And actually, in the middle of the chase, he drops his lightsaber, and one of the clones, who also is the commander, picks it up. I have to tell you, I know I'm dumb, okay? I'm going to preface this by saying that. I was like, wait, that guy's Boba Fett. And then I was like, first of all, no, it's not. It's Jango Fett. And second of all the clones look like him. I'm dumb.
Oh no, Kelly.
But I got so excited for a minute.
He's still alive. Oh wait, no, they're all the same person. Wow.
That's why they're clones. It makes sense. I'm sorry.
Oh, Kelly.
So meanwhile, we go back to the Jedi Council, and one of the clones, I guess the commander guy again.
This guy's name is Cody, the commander.
Cody the commander. Oh, I love that. I did hear Obi say, like, thank you, Cody, right before Operation 66 happens, but we'll talk about that later. So Cody reports that Obi has made contact with Grievous, and they're in the midst of their attack. And Windu tells Anakin to tell Palpatine, and he says to report back on his reaction because they're going to be able to tell based on his reaction what his situation is.
Yeah.
So then Anakin leaves, and Windu actually says that he senses that there's a plot to destroy the Jedi, which is true. He should have really followed up on that. And he also says that he can feel the dark side surrounding Palpatine. And one Jedi, I never got this guy's name, but he's like, if he doesn't give his position up after Grievous is dead, then he has to be removed from office, and the Jedi are going to have to take over to secure a peaceful transition. And also, Yoda, continuing to be the baddie of my heart, says that this is honestly a dangerous situation and that they need to tread carefully.
Yeah.
So then Anakin goes to Palpatine. He tells him what went down, and Palpatine is like, well, I hope that Obi-Wan is enough. And Anakin is like, I should have gone too, which falling right into his trap.
Yeah.
And then Palpatine starts manipulating him, and he's like, why haven't they made you a master yet? And Anakin is like, I don't know. I feel excluded. They don't want to play with me.
They don't want to play with me.
And then he says that he knows that there are things about the Force that they're not telling him. And then Palpatine says that they don't trust him because his power is too strong to control. And he also offers to teach him. And he says he knows all about the Force. And actually, his mentor taught him the dark side as well.
Wow. Crazy realization.
Confirmed. So Anakin is surprised. And at first he seems mad about it. But Palpatine is like, well, it's important to study everything if you want to be knowledgeable, not just the one-sided view of the Jedi.
Yeah, he said if you want to be a complete leader, you have to know both sides. Which being a complete leader doesn't sound like you're a good person.
But we know that's kind of what Anakin wants.
Yeah. He doesn't care about goodness. He just wants to have as much control as possible.
I also thought, speaking of noticing shots in movies, I thought that this was cool. They were kind of like circling each other.
Yeah.
Like a little predatorial situation. And then Palpatine says that only through him can Anakin achieve the most power, and that he could save his wife from certain death. And Anakin is shocked. And he's like, how do you know that? He pulls out his lightsaber and he's like, you're the Sith Lord. And Palpatine is like, don't be a pawn of their Jedi Council. You're destined for a bigger life. And then he asks Anakin if he's going to kill him. And Anakin is like, I would certainly like to. And Palpatine says, I know you would. I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger, which, I hate it.
So creepy.
And then Anakin puts away his lightsaber and he says that he's just going to turn him over to the Jedi Council. And Palpatine starts, or I should say continues, planting the seeds of doubt in him. And he's like, you know, you could save Padmé if you wanted to, but I guess you don't want to.
Yeah, he's pushing all the right buttons.
Yeah, no, he absolutely is. So then we go back to the chase with Grievous and Obi-Wan, and they're fighting on their respective rides. Obi-Wan on Screeching Lizard and Grievous on Screaming Metal Death Trap. I mean, I didn't write down the specific details, but basically Obi-Wan gets pulled onto the death wheel thing, and for some reason his lizard friend screeches and stops running. Like, wouldn't you try to keep pace so that he can jump back onto you? But whatever.
Nah, he doesn't care. That's not a trained lizard.
That's fair. He's just a wild lizard.
He just caught him.
He's like, thank goodness I'm out of this.
He's like, I'm going home to my wife. Goodbye.
My lizard wife and my lizard children.
No, they don't have kids.
Oh yeah, they're child free.
Yeah. I could tell. I got the vibe.
Yeah. He is a lizard who does not care.
No.
So then they're, on the wheel thing. It gets stuck or something where it starts falling off the ledge. They jump off. They start having a little battle. Obi-Wan actually stabs Grievous with one of the spicy Q-tips, but then he gets knocked back and then he's getting beaten up, to be honest.
Pretty bad.
So while he's getting beaten up, he pulls open Grievous's chest cavity and sees that there is a beating heart in there, which would explain, I guess, why he's coughing and stuff, because he seems to, at some point, I assume, is a human heart.
Yeah, so at some point maybe he was human.
Yeah, so now he's just all droid, which actually made me start thinking a little bit about our future Darth Vader, who is mostly made of machine.
Yeah.
And how he also had a little bit of a breathing issue. I wonder if that's a recurring theme in People Turn Droid.
Potentially.
That would be the medical journal that they published in accordance with Star Wars.
Yeah, right. Has droid parts, may have breathing issues.
I love that. It doesn't seem to be intentional, but I still love it. So then Grievous is like, get away from my chest cavity. He doesn't say that, but he shoves him away.
Imagine.
And then Obi-Wan kicks him, but it just ends up hurting him, which I thought was pretty funny. And then Obi almost falls off a ledge, but he uses the Force to grab. I honestly don't even want to call it a blaster because it was straight up a gun. It like shot fire at him.
Yeah, that was interesting that it shot fire. It could just be another bit of rule breaking in the Star Wars universe because they wanted to set Grievous on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah. Or it could have been a fire gun. Who knows?
Yeah, well, he actually makes a comment. I didn't write it down, but he makes a comment about how it's like unsophisticated or something. So it's clearly not a weapon that he is familiar with.
Yeah, well, they say that the lightsaber is the most sophisticated weapon.
Oh, wow. They're so sophisticated.
Very sophisticated, them Jedi.
So anyway, he does kill Grievous. He burns him, and the little heart inside of him also burns away.
Burns away.
So then, meanwhile, Anakin goes to Windu. When I tell you, I was stressed this whole scene because I was so certain that Anakin was going to change his mind about telling him, but he did tell him. Thank goodness.
Yeah. No, that was shocking to me too. Is one of those moments where I really didn't think that Anakin was going to be truthful in this moment.
Yeah, and it stressed me out.
Not like it changes much, but
No.
he was honest right now.
Could be responsible, is responsible for his death, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So he says he needs to talk to Windu, and Windu tells him that Obi-Wan did kill Grievous and that they need the Chancellor to return the power back to the Senate. And Anakin is like, he's not going to give up his power. I just found out something terrible, which is that he is the Sith Lord. And Windu is like, how do you know? Then I started getting stressed that Windu wasn't going to believe him, but thankfully he did. And he says they have to move quickly. And Anakin is like, the Chancellor is too powerful. You're going to need my help. And Windu is like, no, for your own safety. You got to stay out of it. You're a little bit too confused. I sense too much fear in you. It's going to be best for everybody if you just stay here.
They should have taken away his lightsaber. They should have locked him in a room. They should have had a guard outside. Windu.
I know.
They're so lax.
So Windu tells him to wait in the council chambers until the Jedi return. And Anakin is like, yes, master. And then he flies off. And then we get an interesting intercutting of Padmé being sad in her living room and Anakin being sad in the council chambers.
Yeah, I didn't really get the back and forth, but I guess it was sort of just supposed to be like they were thinking about each other from afar.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. Anakin sheds a tear. He hears Palpatine's voice being like, you know, if the Jedi destroy me, your chance of saving Padmé will be lost. And Padmé is looking sad and out the window. He's looking sad out the window. They're singing that SpongeBob song that's like, this kitchen's not the same without you.
Ooh, copyright strike.
Ooh, can I not sing that?
No, I love it. I'm 100% making sure that the audience hears that.
It wouldn't be the first song I've sang on here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I haven't made a Weird Al reference in quite some time.
Yeah, it's been a little too long. And then this part, I don't think we come back to it in this section, because if we do, I have no idea what it meant. But a droid that could be C-3PO goes up to Padmé and starts talking to her, but we didn't hear what he was saying to her.
Yeah, C-3PO is just sort of hanging with Padmé.
Oh, I thought he was like telling her something intense and that we would find out later, but then we don't find out.
The next section starts with them chatting again.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, in this section we don't see them again. But that was C-3PO. I assume that they took him with them when they left Tatooine, and now he lives with Padme.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then, meanwhile, we see Anakin. He jumps onto a jet. He flies off. Windu and his Jedi crew, which is 3 other people, approach Palpatine. And Palpatine is acting like nothing is wrong. And he's like, oh, did you guys kill Grievous? You're here earlier than expected. And Windu is like, you're under arrest. The Senate is going to decide your fate. And Palpatine is like, I am the Senate. In a really frog-like voice. I don't know.
His voice gets weird in this section.
So weird.
There's another part where it's very strange.
There's a lot of parts where it's very strange. I will point out all of the ways that I was uncomfortable.
Perfect.
So then Palpatine pulls out a red lightsaber because he's evil.
Yeah.
And he jumps forward and he immediately kills 2 of the Jedi Masters, which again, huge problem. How are these Jedi Masters immediately killed?
Especially because they knew what they were walking into. It'd be one thing.
They knew what they were walking into.
Later in the section, when we do start losing a lot of the Jedi, I get it because they were caught unawares. They didn't know that it was happening. But here they literally went in to arrest someone that they know is a Sith Lord.
And I can't help but think it's so convenient that Windu survives and he's not the one that Palpatine immediately cuts down.
It's the ego again. He's got to keep the strongest for last.
It's just dumb. It's dumb that 2 Jedi Masters on the council got killed. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Very annoyed about that. I think it's dumb that this always happens, and it's not just in Star Wars, but in movies in general. It's like somebody who's so incredibly strong just immediately gets struck down. But then some apprentice is always managing to hold his own and be strong. It's just like, ugh, of course the Jedi Masters get cut down immediately.
Yeah, seriously. Well, it's like every YA book we've ever read where a bunch of like 16-year-olds
17-year-olds
saving the day.
And the parents just don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
So then the 3rd Jedi, I don't know if he gets killed per se. I'm assuming he does because he doesn't come back in this scene. So he just immediately kills 3 Jedi Masters, super upset about it. And then him and Windu start a really cool lightsaber battle. We got the red versus the purple. Love the color scheme.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
And then Anakin lands and he runs for them. And he and Windu are actually kind of up against the window now. And Windu shatters the window. And then he kicks the lightsaber out of Palpatine's hand. And he knocks him down. And we're not actually 100% sure. Is he going to arrest him? Is he going to kill him? What's going to happen? But we will find out in a minute because Anakin runs in and Palpatine is squealing like a little pig. And he's like, please don't kill me. I'm so weak. I don't know how to do anything. Which,
you liar.
How is Anakin looking so confused?
Yeah.
You know?
He's just standing there like, what do I do? What do I do?
And he's like, the Jedi are going to try to take over. And then Windu is like, the Sith oppression won't return. And Palpatine is like, no, you will die.
Yeah, when he says no, that's the uncomfortable moment.
Awful.
No.
Yeah.
No, you will die.
It's a little
so
too
bad.
much for me.
It's
so then he
pretty
starts
bad.
shocking him. Then Windu is like fighting it with his lightsaber. And Palpatine is like, he's a traitor. And Windu is like, no, he's a traitor. And Anakin is looking back and forth.
For a really long time.
Looking confused. Like he's trying to figure out who the bad guy is. Are you kidding me? It's not obvious at this point.
But he's being selfish.
And then Palpatine is like, I still have the power to save Padme. And I wrote, his face starts getting weirdly aged, which, oof, that's an understatement.
Yeah, it continues.
And then he's like, I can't hold it any longer. I'm too weak. Anakin, help me. And then Windu is like, I'm going to end this once and for all. And Anakin is like, no, he has to stand trial. And Windu is like, he's too dangerous to be kept alive. And meanwhile, Palpatine is just being a little worm. And he's like, no, I'm so weak. Help me. I'm so weak.
Also, Anakin literally just murdered Dooku and it is now like, but it's not the Jedi way to kill.
Seriously.
Bro, You just did
Hypocrite.
this. You just did this.
Yeah, and this guy's way more dangerous, I would argue.
Yeah.
And then Windu raises his lightsaber to give him the killing blow, and guess what happens?
I know exactly what happened.
I couldn't believe it. I gasped. Anakin cut off his arm.
7.
And let me tell you, Windu is the only character in the entire universe of Star Wars who has the appropriate reaction to getting his hand cut off.
Thank you, Samuel L.
He just starts screaming. And I'm like, thank you. Somebody in this world has sense. Somebody knows how horrifying it is to just randomly lose a limb. You're going to scream. It's a natural reaction. It's totally fine.
Yes.
And then Palpatine starts, this is actually my least favorite part of the section and possibly the entire franchise, potentially worse than the kiss.
Ooh.
Palpatine starts shocking him and he goes, unlimited power. Why? Why does he do that? Why does he say that?
Because he's evil and he can say what he wants.
But it's so cringe.
It's
the cringiest thing I've ever heard. I would rather watch Anakin and Padmé kiss 20 times over.
Wow, you heard it here first, people. Send Kelly compilation videos of Padmé and Anakin
Please
kissing.
don't.
She wants it.
But just don't ever go unlimited power at me because it's the worst thing I've ever heard in my lifetime.
That's definitely a GIF reaction too. I've definitely seen that one.
It's just so random. Why do you need to say it? It's like we were talking about in a previous section, like when the bad guy is like, I'm going to talk to myself and explain the plan to myself for no reason. And it's like, let me tell you how much power I have. Unlimited. It's like unnecessary.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And then Windu gets thrown off the ledge, which I wrote, I guess he's not going to die of old age.
Yeah, I was a little sad thinking about your idea of him dying of old age in the countryside. Unfortunately, he gets blasted out a window.
Yeah, but it's similar.
Windu out the window.
That was so bad. So then Anakin is like, oh no, what have I done? Which, Anakin, you need to stop doing terrible things and then being like, what have I done? Because it doesn't negate the bad thing that you've done.
Yeah, he's just like, oh no, as if I recognize it was bad, then I'll be okay.
Yeah.
No, you were pretty bad. No, this time though, he's basically resigned himself to evil.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's like, okay, now I've gone too far.
And then Palpatine, looking absolutely crazy evil at this point,
Yeah,
is like, you're
insane.
fulfilling your destiny, Anakin. Become my apprentice and learn to use the dark side of the Force. And then Anakin just immediately says, I'll do whatever you ask. Just help me save Padmé's life. I can't live without her.
He is so selfish.
And then, remember earlier in this episode, I said there's something we got to put a pin in?
yes, the pin is taken out.
Let's take this pin out because
Okay.
Palpatine says only one person has achieved this, but together we can potentially figure it out. I'm sorry.
So he lied.
You convinced him to join the whole dark side just because you kept on being like, trust me, I can save Padmé's life. I know exactly how to do it. I will easily save her as soon as you become a Sith. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about her. I'm going to save her. And then Anakin's like, all right, I'll become a Sith. And he's like, oh, and by the way, I don't actually know how to do it, but we can probably learn, right? It can't be that hard. Only one person has ever done it before.
Just like a politician. Empty promises.
So I had a huge problem with that. And I also
Yeah.
felt really bad for Anakin for falling for that.
Yeah, but it's his own selfishness and also his lack of guidance from the Jedi. And I know we keep blaming Obi-Wan, but I blame the Council more than Obi-Wan because they put Obi-Wan in charge of Anakin, who wasn't ready for a Padawan.
Yeah.
And then just sort of left him to his own devices. They were sus on Palpatine, but still let Anakin get close to him.
It was really the perfect storm, if you think about it. Every
Yeah.
single thing that could have led in this direction basically happened.
Mhm.
So anyway, Anakin gets on his knees and pledges himself to Palpatine, which I also hated. And then Palpatine says, the Force is strong with you, a powerful Sith you will become. And then he says, henceforth you shall be known as Darth Vader. No explanation as to why.
Just comes into his brain.
And then he's like, and Lord Vader, let me do this. As if he's supposed to just immediately recognize that that's his new nickname.
yeah.
And also, we do get a quick shot here of Yoda sensing what's going on, looking a little pained, which made me really sad.
I know that Yoda can feel it all.
And then Palpatine tells Anakin that once the Jedi find out, they're going to kill both of them and the senators. And Anakin is like, I agree. Which, really? You do? That's kind of crazy. Why would they kill the other senators?
Very quickly, he's like, as long as Padmé lives, I'll do what you ask, sir.
Yeah, seriously. And then Palpatine says that all Jedi are now enemies of the Republic and they need to be destroyed. So he says to go to the Jedi temple and kill all of them, catch them off balance, and only then will he be strong enough to save Padmé. Which again, I'm like, you liar.
Yeah.
You're lying.
He's lying.
And then he's like, well, what about the other Jedi throughout the galaxy? And Palpatine says, don't worry, they'll be dealt with, which he actually has a pretty wild plan that works.
Order 66.
So then he says, after you kill all of the Jedi, go to Mustafar and kill the separationists, and Sith will rule the galaxy and once again have their comeuppance. He didn't say that.
Imagine he said that. That'd be wild.
I would have shrieked.
Yeah.
I would have screamed, unlimited power.
Gross.
So then we see Anakin approaching the temple with clone armies. And meanwhile, we see the battle raging on the other planet. And we see Commander Cody giving Obi-Wan his lightsaber back. And then he immediately gets a comm from Palpatine to execute Order 66, which we find out pretty quickly is an order to kill all the Jedi.
Yeah.
So then the clones shoot at Obi and him and his lizard friend fall. And then we see these intercutting shots of Anakin destroying the temple, killing the Jedi. There's these other planets that we see other Jedi on with their clone armies, and they're all just basically getting gunned down and executed.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. Their clone army turned against them.
And then we also see on the planet where the Wookiee battle is going on, there is a clone that gets the order, and him and another clone go up to Yoda, and then Yoda just turns around and beheads them, which was awesome.
I was also curious if that Wookiee was Chewie, but it might not have been. It looked like Chewie.
I was thinking that too. One of the ones did look like Chewie, and then Yoda jumps on his back, which I loved.
I feel like it could have been, because Wookiees definitely have longer life cycles than humans do.
And I think you said in the last section that it was only 19 years after, right?
Yeah, so he could totally be.
That's actually what I was thinking, because it did look exactly like him.
Yeah, and it sounded like him too.
Well, they all kind of sound similar.
No, I recognize his voice. We're friends.
Okay.
We've been friends for a while.
Yeah, I don't have that connection with him. So then we actually see the final scene in today's section, and it is chilling. I actually have chills just thinking about it. So
we ended on the scene for a reason. I'm going to let you talk about it, then I'm going to tell you the reason why this was the scene that we stopped at.
So Anakin has all of the Jedi children in the council room, and I actually wasn't 100% sure what the kid was talking about, because there's one kid that goes up to him and he's like, there's too many of them. What are we going to do? And then Anakin pulls out his lightsaber and the kid like starts backing up a little bit. And I mean, the implication is that he's going to kill all the kids.
Yeah.
Oof.
And the reason I picked this scene was because in the last film, when we saw the little Padawan learners with Yoda, Kelli, you made a comment and you said, that was really cute. I'd love to see more of that. Internal screaming on my end, because I'm like, we do see the Padawan learners again.
Leah said, you want to see more
really.
of that?
You want to see more? Well,
let me show you.
And then on top of that, when that episode came out, the messages I was receiving about that comment that you made, they're like, oh, well, she's going to get her wish.
You guys are awful.
So me and the community have been chatting about that, waiting for this to come.
Wow. Well, I actually also have to say it brought back to me a little memory of how in episode 2, Anakin was like, I also slaughtered the women and children like animals.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
So, he's a big fan of murdering kids for no reason.
Apparently.
Don't love to see it. You don't love to see it.
This is definitely a scene that is not well loved among the Star Wars community.
Shocking.
Yeah, but he goes and he just murders a bunch of children.
For all it's worth, I'm glad that we don't actually see it.
My thing is they're young and impressionable. Why don't you just turn them to the dark side?
That's what I originally thought he gathered them in that room for.
Nah.
But yeah, why do that when he can just be the only one?
That's true.
Well, there's actually a lot left of the movie.
There is,
So really anything could happen. Should I lay out my predictions?
Yeah, let's hear them all. Final predicts for
it turns out Windu is alive, but he is just going to go to a cool planet on the beach, just chillax for the rest of his days.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's true.
Yeah.
Final shot of the movie.
Very
Windu
excited.
sipping a pina colada.
Out of a little coconut.
Yeah, with a little umbrella.
Yeah, he's got his sunglasses
bendy
on.
straw.
Yeah, he's watching the sunset. He's just having a a good time.
Yeah.
So that's prediction number 1. Prediction number 2, I don't think we're going to lose any more arms in this section, but I do recall that Darth Vader doesn't have much of a human body. So I think he is going to get blown up, but I think that Palpatine is going to save him from dying. So he's going to get involved in a big battle with probably Obi-Wan, and then Obi-Wan is going to maybe think that he is dead or close to death, and then as the movie is ending, I think Palpatine is going to like come get him and be like, all right, I'm gonna fix you, don't worry.
I'm gonna save you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in this last section, we have to assume Anakin's gonna see Padme again, he's gonna see Obi-Wan again, but now he's on the dark side.
Oh yeah, Padme's also gonna give birth.
How do you think she's gonna react to him being on the dark side?
Oh, she reacts terribly every single time he's like, oh, I murdered a bunch of kids. She's like, oh, sweetie, you're human. It's totally normal for people to slaughter children. So I don't have high hopes.
She'll be like, I just wish we were back on Naboo, baby. Let's go.
She's gonna be like, listen, you're too hard on yourself. So you murdered 20 children. What's the big deal? You're only human. Stop stressing yourself out so much. You stress yourself out. You overwhelm yourself. You're so strong and amazing.
Let's just take a break. Let's take a vacay.
Yeah, let's just chill. No, she's gonna give birth. She's gonna be freaking out. She's gonna die in childbirth. We know that.
Maybe.
Oh, wait. I just remembered when Luke tells Leia that they're twins. I don't remember which one of them, but one of them said that they barely remember their mom.
Don't listen to that conversation. It means nothing.
Okay. Well, then I think she's going to die in childbirth. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all I got. Is there any characters I'm missing?
No, because we know that Yoda obviously lives.
Obi-Wan lives.
We know that Obi-Wan lives.
I hope that the shrieking lizard lives.
Yeah, he's home with his wife.
Oh, good.
He's
good. Okay.
He's chill.
And they're still...
War's gone off that planet now. They're still good. Yeah, they're still loving life.
Being child-free.
They might go to that beach with Windu.
Oh, yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah, they've got the money for it.
Little vacay, yeah.
Yeah, they got a little inheritance.
Ooh, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, so that's all I got, but tune in next week and we will find out the conclusion whether the Sith have come up or...
Come down.
Come down.
Come up-ins or come down-ins.
Leah does not own a dictionary.
What's a dictionary?
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the It's All Geek to Me podcast, hosted by Leah and Kelly. Make sure to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast player and give us a rating. You can also follow us on Twitter at All Geek Podcast. New episodes drop every Thursday. See you next week.